Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top entrepreneurs, founders, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And this episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, and improve business processes so companies can scale and thrive. Now, people ask me, what software do I like that I use in order to document processes and procedures? And I'd like to share with you a software that I really like, which is SweetProcess. Now, SweetProcess is an amazing process documentation software that helps create clear step-by-step instructions for every task in your company, anywhere from onboarding new clients to training employees to responding to client requests. With SweetProcess, you have a central place for the team to access procedures and instructions anytime and from any device. So, as a loyal listener to this podcast, or even if you just joined us for the first time, you can try this software for free with a 28-day free of charge trial. All you need to do is go to sweetprocess.com/Adi, that's ADI, like my name, and you can sign up for your free trial and start using it today. And today's guest is Alice Tang, and Alice is the VP and partner for a very successful multi-generational wealth advising firm. And she is also what I call the queen of networking. She is incredible in terms of building her network, and she has a fantastic system that she's going to share with us. And Alice is also a dear, close friend of mine. So that's even make it even great to have you here on the podcast. So hello, Alice.
Hello, Adi. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So you have an amazing story of how you got to be who you are today and how successful you are. And I'd love for you to start by sharing with our listeners your story about how you came here as an immigrant in 2000 and what happened.
Well, I came here maybe a few years before you do.
That's right.
1994 was the year we came. And I came on a dependent on a work visa. That means that I am a spouse. I could stay with my husband who was offered a job opportunity here, but I couldn't work. So over time, I really have gotten to the permanent residency and green card. So on June 20th, year 2000, I show up at a financial planning firm. That's my first day. My manager told me that, you know what, you don't have any warm market. You don't know nobody. Why don't you start cold calling? So I said, well, how many? He said, 200 calls a day. After 50,000 calls at the end of the year, when I look at my tally, I made $2,000.
Wow. Hard work for not a lot.
Yes. Immigrants, you have the same blood in you. We're fighters. We need to make this happen here. With the blessing of my husband, of course, because we need to make decisions together as a team. I tried harder the next year. So 100,000 calls. I made $8,000.
Oh.
Well, it's 4 times the first year. Yay.
That's right. Celebrate the wins. Okay.
The third year, I was doing even better. I was hitting about 30,000. So looks like cold calling is working. And I worked very hard, about 60 to 70 hours a week, depending on the week. I was super proud. My husband was proud of me. My firm really thought that I have great trajectory because look at that, it's exponential growth like this. So I cannot help but think it'd be nice to make $60,000. Would that be it? So in order to do $60,000 or make $60,000, my manager always told me activities will drive your results. Make sure you control your activities. So I was doing 200 calls a day. I need to make 400 calls a day. I was working 60 to 70 hours a week. I must work 120 to 140 hours a week in order to do that. But I have power. If there is a will, there is a way. Unfortunately, every one of us has only 168 hours in a week. 120 to 140 is way too much to ask. Even I don't care sleeping, no makeup, no shower, my clients wouldn't meet me at 5 a.m. or 9 p.m. in the nighttime.
That's correct.
So I got a plan. Mathematically, it worked. But realistically, it didn't. That's like a brick that hit my head so hard. I saw blood flowing down. I was disappointed. I was upset. I was depressed. So something got to change. I lifted my head up and saw my office. We had about 40 advisors like me. Many of them are male. It's a male-dominated industry, and they are very, very successful. And I can't help it but wonder, their lifestyle is so different from me. They're enjoying everything. They came to work, check in with their assistant and secretary, and then they run a few meetings, then they went to lunch. Sometimes they didn't come back. I heard it's golfing or some wonderful, fun activities in the afternoon. They didn't even come back. Here I am working so hard and had difficulty thinking about even wishing for a double of the 30,000, 60,000. The only way to find out a D is to go ask. I asked for 15 minutes. Said, what do you know that I don't? What's your secret sauce? The top 2 advisors, who's at that time making about 20 to 30 times what I made.
Right.
They had a life. So easy. They must have a secret sauce. So both of them told me, it's really relationships. Who is referring you? I said, no one. I cold call. Wrong answer, Alice. Somebody must be referring you. You work so hard. You dedicated for your clients. Have you asked? I said, no. And then the other thing they told me is the size of the case. So if your case size is this small, you have to paddle 50 times. If your case size is this small, you don't need to paddle that hard. 15 minutes. The closing of each one of them is the same. Make sure you stay at the top of the people who have influence on others, who can help you or buy from you.
That's great advice. Absolutely. And I know that that's the pivot point, right? I mean, that's the change of how you operate and what you do. And you definitely took that advice to heart and started running with it, right? So, yes. And not only that, you developed a system around it. So tell us more about that.
In the last 17 years, this is my 21 year in business. Of course, every year you keep polishing the system, fine-tune your oil engine. So my system is perfect for me, but I'm going to point out a few points that is important for all of us. So first of all, let's talk about center of influence. If you're in a sales position or you're doing marketing, nobody goes through life and makes some good or exponential success without a group of people who are their village. And I call them center of influence, or you call them board of directors, same thing. These people think of you and they are your champion.
Absolutely. And I think, to your point, if you're in sales or marketing, but all of us, to whatever degree, whatever hat we are wearing, you have a sales or marketing component to it, right? So you have the center of influence for that particular role that you are doing, that you need to somehow advertise or advance your idea or your project or whatnot.
I agree. Even if somebody who is not in the position of asking people to commit to do business, you need to climb your corporate ladder. Let's say you work for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So who's your next mentor who can take you to your next level of career success? Who's your next person who's going to sponsor you to expand from your position? Maybe in another department, maybe climb the corporate ladder. And again, I'm going to repeat, nobody gets through this success just by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good point to talk about my system. I have my top 10 board of directors or center of influence. Every year, I made a decision who they are. So how do you choose them? It's not random. These people have helped me tremendously in the past year. It could be personal. It could be professional. Professional meaning they are referring business to me. They are sharing opportunity with me. Personal could be they always care about my personal growth. They want me to be better. Just like a DU, you're always my champion. You've introduced me to a few great opportunities to speak on podcasts that help me to expand my message. Thank you.
You are very welcome, Alice. You do the same for me, and it's definitely mutual. So thank you.
So I have my top 10 people. So I figured that we must reach out to these top 10 people based on paying it forward mentality. Never mind what they're going to do for me. Let me think about what I can do for them. And the reason is I have control issues. I'm a controller. I can only control what I think, what I do. I can never control what they or when they're going to do anything for me. So in the past 17 years, I figure if I reach out to them and do a great gift every year just to thank them, they so appreciate it, but I'm not staying at the top of mind. If I reach out every day, small gifts, small touches, I'm too much a pest. These days, we don't have time. So after trial and error, which is what a scientist should do, and you're an engineer too, you can appreciate that, I figure weekly touches is the best. Let me define what is a touch. A touch is an intentional communication from me to them, customized for them. So every week on Tuesday, I block out 30 minutes just to look at my list of people, a DU on it, to think about what I'm going to do for these people this week to make sure I add value to their personal life, to their professional life, and sometimes their family.
That's beautiful, Alice. And I've experienced that, and I can tell you it makes a huge difference because it is that attention. You make me feel important. You make me feel that I'm part of your tribe, that I'm not, we're not alone. We cooperate, or even though we don't see each other often, we are still connected. And that connection is so important. And I can tell our listeners that what you're so good at is really recognizing the person and what is important for them. And that is the give it forward mentality, right? It is not what's important for you today, not what you want to share, but what is it important for that person? And I can see it on your comments on LinkedIn. When you read somebody's post, you really take the time to read or to listen to an interview that you have done and pick up the important points and comment on it. So it puts them in a really good light. And that is important. And you show how they are important to you and how you actually understand what they're looking for and what they're trying to accomplish. So that celebrating others is part of the paying it forward.
Wow, you say it the best. Both of us are second language. We're rocking here. Yay. So weekly touches. Let's continue.
Yes.
So every week, if you do a voicemail or a card, for me, it's monotonous, it's boring. So let's make sure we have a variety of touches to make it exciting and welcoming. Because if every week on Tuesday, you got a text from me, No matter how great things I say, it got bored. And
Right.
I'm Chinese. I need to have 9 dishes on my table at dinner. I cannot deal with one steak. It's too boring. Keep eating the same thing, right? Okay. So the best gift, pay it forward gift, is a referral if somebody is in business, isn't it? But that if referral does not come so easy.
Right.
Because if you're intentional, you set it up so that when a D meet with this person, she's going to get it. It's not just somebody you should meet. And they find out that they shouldn't meet for an hour. Isn't that crazy? No.
Absolutely.
If it's a referral. So usually it's 2 to 3 times in a year that important referral come through. And if you are my top center of influence or board of directors, you got it. And I'll position it so that you can have the highest success of closing. Well, remember, it doesn't come easily. There is 52 weeks in a year. What else? Making sure that I introduce them and connect them with people they should know. Maybe somebody else who is in the same world, but they haven't met each other. Maybe just like Adi, Alice wants to share her message to a bigger group of people. Maybe this LinkedIn podcast is good for her. Connect her. Give people what they want, and they will give you what you want. Now,
Absolutely.
There are weeks. You mentioned that I look into my LinkedIn and I detailedly read my top 10 people. What did they post? Have they posted anything? If they haven't, can I tag them in some shape or form? Simple. It's probably a couple minutes for each one of them. That's how I use my 30 minutes. And finally, if I happen to have a event pre-pandemic, we have clients appreciation dinner, women event, I'll invite them so that they are planted among all my clients. If my clients have a need, it's so easy to say, do you remember meeting Adi? She's at your table. She really do this work that you ask very well. Let me reconnect you. That's
Absolutely. And I wanted to say your events are wonderful, and you're very intentional and very thoughtful of how you do your events. And you always add value. So you always in your events, you have a speaker of value. So you walk out of the event with some knowledge of value, which by itself, it's very empowering. Because yes, we all want the referral, we want the connections, but we can't overlook the little things, not little, but the other things that go around, right? I mean, if you empower another person professionally, because now they learn something from a speaker that you brought in, that you enhance their lives, you make their lives better, and they will remember you for that, right? And that is like a whole, there is much more deeper building of relationship than just passing referrals, right? I mean, that's what your system is all about. It's about communication. It's about staying top of mind. And it's about building your tribe, because, you know, the giver's gain philosophy, which Ivan Meisner, the founder of BNI, termed that as part of the core value of that organization. It really works, because if you give, you gain, right? And that's what it is all about. And your system is amazing because it puts you to a point where you can control things, right? You can always have something to communicate. And by being very intentional and choosing your 10 top board of directors, I love that term, and doing those intentional actions of like, what can I do this week for my board of directors? Should I go onto social media and comment? Should I do an event, even an online event? Should I reach out and see how they're doing? Should I send them a message? Should I text them? Should I, you're also very good at reading something on social media that happened and then commenting on it, right? So you don't have to comment on the comment itself, but actually even reach out to the person and say, hey, congratulations, I saw that you won this award, or that you are now on this podcast, or that you wrote a book, or whatever it is. It starts the conversation, and it's all about making people important. So I think that
exactly.
Right?
That person should be the most important person in that room when you're thinking about them. Even when you're texting, when you run out of time, like you said, you do a text or an email, a simple. Just say, Adi, I'm thinking of you today. I'm sending good vibes and thoughts your way to make sure that you're successful. Have a blessed day.
Absolutely.
How long does it take to text this? 30 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
And
you also, you also have
you
have a system also ongoing on social media, so you don't go down the hole and then 2 hours later you're still on social media, right? I mean, you have a system where you actually block time to do that, and you go 10 minutes down the post, right?
Yes. And the good things about having a system and a process, which, you're all about that, is by creating that and following through, you don't need motivation. We all have different energy level because of personal stuff, health. There's so much going on, such and such. Challenging client or not challenging client, but I happen to have 3 more pieces of business than usual. What are you going to do? Overwhelmed. But if you do have a system and just follow through it, just like when you wake up, what do you do? Go to the bathroom and brush your teeth. Do you need to think about, should I go to the bathroom? Should I brush my teeth? You have a system. It's automated in you that take away the decision. When your brain does not need to make decision, your brain is conserving the battery, the power for your next big thing to happen in the day.
Absolutely. So that is a great lead into, you have your personal routine, the personal system where you actually balance your work and your personal life, and you have that system. And I would love for you to share that system with our listeners, because now moving forward from that year in 2000, when you were working 70 hours a week and making the $2,000, to asking that advisor, the 2 top advisors, what's your secret, because they had a life. Moving back, now we are in 2021 and you have a life and you have a balanced life, and you are also, not only you are the VP and the partner in your firm, and you are also nominated as the top, you're not nominated, but you are the top in your field. You're also an accomplished speaker. And why don't you share your website, Alice, so people can find out about your speaking engagements, about the blogs that you write? I mean, you have so much to offer that I would love to share that.
Awesome. So my speaker's website is askalicetang.com, ask first name, last name.com, no space. You asked about my morning routines.
Yeah.
So every day when I get up, of course, we go through the routine we just talked about, too much information. I will take 2 glasses of lemon water, because lemon has the ability to turn our body into more alkaline base. So that will fight better the virus outside us, the bacteria. It will boost our immunity. And I think some people would take vinegar too, but lemon is
That's what I do. I do lemon and apple cider vinegar. So we share that routine.
Exactly. So that's important. 2 glasses of water. So we should have at least 8 glasses of water. I cut 2 already, right? Check. And then I will read a piece of spiritual paragraph. And I will pray. And some people will meditate. I will do my affirmation. My affirmation meaning the things that I believe in me is happening now. I have the best relationship in the world. I have all the time today to do whatever I wanted to do. I'm successful. I do succeed because I have the power of success. So things like that, you have your own version. And then I will do my stretch exercise. I hate exercise, but I knew that at my age, I should do something. So that is about 15 minutes of stretch exercise. And then I will determine my top priority today. And I know there are many theories, have 2 priorities, I have 3. For me, I got to have only 1. I decided. And why? My brain does not need to make decision. Priority 1 or priority 2, which one? If it's not pertaining to priority one and I haven't got this done, I'm focusing knocking this down. When I can knock this down, the ball is not in my court, somebody else's court, I can move to anything else.
That is a great routine.
And all these taken probably is 30, 45 minutes only. And I haven't touched my phone or any device yet.
That's an excellent point. That is just there. It's a calming influence not to do that. Because how many of us actually have the routine, the system of waking up, immediately turning the phone on and looking at your emails first thing in the morning, right? And our emails. So having that routine, it's discipline, Alice, right? I mean, discipline it definitely plays a part into having a system and executing a system. You have to have a discipline. You have to be a very disciplined person to do that. But you can be trained on how to be disciplined, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be executed. So having that system in place and deciding what it is, then you can start working on executing and having the discipline.
That's so true. Adi, on the business side, I think nobody started in the first day and got everything done. And that's why there are professionals like yourself. We're talking about process and organization, structure, and things like that. If I can do it by myself, I don't have time, I don't have that. Work with someone. Work with someone that you trust and click with you. And remember, nobody do this success and become super successful just by themselves. They have a lot of people helping them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in closing, now that we are getting to the end of this interview, what will be some parting thoughts with our listeners from you, Alice, that you would like to communicate?
Beyond water and oxygen, money and relationship are two necessities that we cannot live without. And after a few decades of mastering both, I conclude that focus on your most important relationship and paying it forward to them on a weekly basis, if not more often. You don't need to worry about money. You'll just come.
That is so true. Thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. And I encourage our listeners to reach out to Alice. Both of her websites are below in the podcast information for her professional, as a professional speaker and as an amazing financial advisor that really advocates for women and for empowering women and taking control over their finances. And that's a whole topic of conversation that we're probably going to talk in a different podcast, because Alice is definitely the expert at that. So I encourage you to reach out to Alice, check out her information on LinkedIn, on her website, and contact her, because she's definitely someone you want to know. So thank you again, Alice. Really appreciate you being here.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Adi. You're wonderful. We rock.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.